Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaoatman.com. Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. I am so delighted you're here with me today. Today we are going to be talking about taking risks in life and why it is an important thing to do, and when is a good time to take a risk and when is a good time not to take a risk. But before we get started with today's episode, we have a word from our sponsor.
Greetings, we're Technically a Conversation, a podcast for curious people by curious people.
Every week, we take turns presenting a new topic, and the other host has no idea what the topic will be.
We strive to educate in a way that's loose and fun. Our topics are all over the place, from light and funny to dark and sometimes spooky.
Some of the topics we've covered include urban legends, civil rights activists, vampires, pop culture icons, the supernatural and occult, spies and espionage, science and astronomy, and other weird and random things.
If any of these topics interest you, give our podcast a shot. Listen and subscribe at technicallyaconversation.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Parental advisory, we might use strong language.
It's so confusing. We get told you need to take risks in life, and then we also get told don't take a risk in life. How do you know when to take a risk and when not to take a risk? We have been taught growing up our whole lives to play it safe because our parents want to keep us safe, right? That is how we get through life and make it there in one piece. You know, our parents, and if you're a parent, you can understand this, and if you're not, you're a pet owner, you understand this. We worry every time our children go out into the world, right? We don't want them to get hurt. We want them to be safe. But if we're keeping them safe and small and protected, while that is sometimes a very good thing, it can also be a very bad thing because we may be teaching them not to take risks. I know that when I was growing up, anytime I would be excited about an idea or a prospect or something that was going to happen, I would run to my mom and tell her, look, I had this amazing job offer, or I met this person, or I want to do this, I want to go to this place. I would always be met with this, I can only describe it as bursting my bubble kind of reaction. It would be something like, well, you better be careful, that's probably not a legitimate job. Or you can't travel there because you could get hurt. I would be so excited about something and immediately have my hopes dashed to the point that there were many times in life as I got older that I just wouldn't tell my mom about things. And not because I didn't love her or I wanted to hurt her, but I just didn't want to have my bubble dashed, you know? And I knew that if I went to her and told her, she would try to bring me back down to reality. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes we need that. But sometimes it's not a good thing because it keeps us from truly living to our potential because we're so afraid to step outside of that comfort zone. I can't tell you how many times people have tried to talk me out of my dreams. Literally, people are telling me you can't do this. And I don't know about you, but my personality type is that if somebody tells me I cannot do it, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to show you that I can. It absolutely frustrates and makes me mad when people tell me that I cannot do something. I know that there are limits sometimes. You know, I know that there are things that I cannot do. But I don't need people around me who try to keep me down and keep me stuck and tell me that you can't do the things you want to do. Unfortunately, many of us have grown up having people tell us that our whole lives. So when we become adults and we have the opportunity to put ourselves out there and to take risks, we don't do it. Just the other day, I did something that seemed a little out of character for myself because I wanted to step outside of my comfort zone. And I was immediately met with a text from a friend going, call me. And then the phone call saying, are you okay? What are you doing? What's going on? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, this doesn't sound like you. You don't normally, you wouldn't normally go and do something like this. And it wasn't anything big, but I was like, well, I just wanted to try it. It's not a big deal. Like, are you okay? Are you dying? What's happening? I got met with all of these questions like, well, your mom's not here anymore, so I needed to call and step up and just make sure I'm taking care of you. And to which I thought, oh my gosh, I don't need somebody to check up on me and tell me, like, don't do things. And, like, I don't need that. Like, I'm an adult. I'm a big girl. I did this because I wanted to, and it turned out great. It was fine. You don't have to worry about me. It'll be all right. We sometimes have people in our lives who are those naysayers who try to talk us out of living our lives. They don't want us to take risks. And I know that part of that is that deeply instilled fear that we have that something's going to happen and we're going to be hurt. You know what? You might be hurt. You cannot ever live a life that is extraordinary if you stay curled up inside of your bed, not getting out and not doing anything. You've got to get out of that comfort zone sometimes, and it's hard. It's really hard to do. I go into almost full-on panic mode sometimes, like a panic attack, when I think about doing things that are really outside of my comfort zone. And then I have to talk myself into it. Sometimes I talk myself out of it, but I have to give myself a pep talk. Like, if you don't do this, you're never going to know if it was something that you enjoyed doing. You have to do it. You have to try it. And it seems so silly because for some people, it's so natural to go out and do anything they want to do. And for many people, it brings on panic attacks when you think about having to put yourself out there. And I get it. That is me sometimes. Even though it seems like I'm probably a very social person and can get along with everyone. And truth be told, that is the truth. I can do that, but it doesn't come easily for me. And you may think, I don't believe you. You have this podcast. You talk to people all the time. I do. And honestly, I'm going to be 100% straight up honest with you. When I'm doing my Facebook Lives, I'm terrified the entire time. I'm nervous the entire time. I'm hating it the entire time. And it's only when it's over that I'm like, oh my gosh, that was fun. That was so fun. I'm glad I did that. But during it, I have all of these fears going in, like, oh, the camera's going to fall. There's going to be a noise. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. People are going to think you're dumb. All of those things run through my head. They really do. I put myself out there this weekend by going and hanging out with people that I don't know that well and don't normally hang out with. That was the thing. It was like, what are you doing? And I put myself in a situation where I had to be a little brave. And at the time going through it, it's like, oh my gosh, this feels a little uncomfortable. But it turned out fine. It was perfectly fine. I had an amazing time. But it doesn't come easily for me. And that's what I want to stress, because I think so many people will think to themselves, well, that person can take a risk. They can put themselves out there because it doesn't bother them. I'm here to tell you it bothers us. Everyone has fears deep down, even if they're not the same as yours. Everyone has these little fears of taking risks. We just do. It is instilled in us from a very young age, right? You go to put your hand toward a light socket when you're little, you get smacked. Your parents are like, don't do that. They're not trying to keep you from taking risks all your life. They're just trying to keep you safe. But that line becomes very blurred. As we get older, your parents say, don't do that. That'll be a mistake. You're going to regret that. Life is all about learning and growing, and you cannot learn and grow if you don't ever take any risks. If you play it safe all the time and you don't step outside that comfort zone, nothing is going to happen for you. Taking risks in life helps us to learn what we like and what we don't like. If you take a risk and you go somewhere and you're like, hey, I'm going to try a new restaurant. And you're like, yeah, that sucked. Well, at least you know now you don't like that restaurant, but you have to get out there. We always would laugh at my mom because we would go to a restaurant and she would order the same dish every time. She would always order fettuccine and we would laugh. But the thing is, I get it. She knew that that was a safe thing because she knew it was going to be good because she's had it before. When you take a risk and you try something new and then it's not good, then you're like, oh, why didn't I order the other thing, right? We all kind of do that. I have to even force myself sometimes when we go to a restaurant to try something different because I tend to do the same thing too. If I know like these 3 things are good at this restaurant, I'm going to stick to these 3 things because if I get something else, it may not be good. And I have had both situations happened where I tried something new and it wasn't good, and I was like, why didn't I get the other thing? My daughter and I laugh about that all the time. She does the same thing. We do the same thing. They even say that watching the same episodes all the time, or the same shows or the same movies, it's also because it's going to be good. When you try something new and it's not, you're like, oh, I wasted that time, or oh, I wasted that money on that meal that wasn't good. But there are a lot of times when we try something new and we're like, I've been missing out all this time. That was amazing. I've had both things happen. There are going to be times where you take a risk and it turns out great, and times where you take a risk and it doesn't. But what did it do? It taught you something. It taught you that, yeah, I do like this dish at this restaurant, or I don't like this dish at this restaurant, or I love this show, I don't like this type of show. We're learning things about ourselves. It can also help us to make wiser decisions later on. Like in the past, when I took that risk and it did not work out, why didn't it work out? Oh, because of this. Well, now I know that in the future, I'm not going to do that the same way. It can also be exciting. Sometimes we get stuck in a rut. We're humans. We don't necessarily like change. In fact, some of us are averse to change. We are really against it. We don't want to put ourselves out there. But life can be so boring if we get stuck in that same pattern and cycle of doing the same thing over and over again. Wake up, repeat, go to bed. Wake up, repeat, go to bed. It's dull. There's no joy or happiness in doing that same thing over and over and over again. And you're not learning anything because you're not doing anything different. Yeah, sometimes risk can cost you things. But you'll never know. You'll live a life where at the end of it, you're like, why didn't I try new things? Why didn't I take a risk and do this? Why didn't I? It's important when you want to take a risk to evaluate, sure, the positive and the negative. But what's really important is not to get stuck in the overthinking and allowing the fear to come in and tell you everything that's going to go wrong. Think about what could go right if you took a risk. If I jump and I take that new job, I might end up meeting some awesome people who make my environment at work fun. Or I could take that job and it might not work out and I may hate it. But it's worth taking the risk sometimes, because changing your environment can make a huge difference in your attitude and also in the way that you see life. Just the people you surround yourself with can make a huge difference. That was one of the things that honestly I loved about my old job. It was the people I worked with, because they made it fun. And that's important. So taking risks to find people who make your life fun, if you're not a very social person maybe, and you're shy, it can be really good to put yourself out there and to try to get over all of the anxiety that comes with trying to be a little more social, because you meet people who can change your life. A lot of people think that fear is a bad thing and that we need to avoid it. Fear, although we don't want to use fear-based thinking, fear can propel us forward if you let it, if you look at it from the right way. When something makes me afraid, it is usually an indicator to me that it is something I have to do. It's making me afraid for a reason, because it's something I need to face. Fear has two meanings. It can mean forget everything and run, right? It's making me afraid, I'm going to run away from it. Or it can mean face everything and rise. And I choose the second meaning of that word, because that is what has propelled me forward in my life. I was afraid of putting myself out there doing a podcast. I was afraid of publishing a book. So instantly when that fear set in, I knew I had to do it. If I'm afraid of this, that means there's something to this. There's something I need to face. What is it that I need to face? And for me, a big part of that is facing rejection and what other people will think of me. Rejection has been a huge life lesson for me. from early on. When I was a little girl, my dad left when I was 3. And even though divorce has become more of a normal thing, and it isn't about the kids, and my dad didn't leave because I was a bad kid. As a 3-year-old, I didn't know that. I absolutely thought it was my fault. And I absolutely felt rejected. And I felt that way for almost my whole life. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I finally faced that fear. And I sat down with my dad and had a whole conversation. And he was like, I've been there for you my whole life. And I was like, Dad, you moved away and you called me once a week. That's not exactly being there for the little things. He didn't understand that. And I had to sit with him and help him understand that as a little child, like, you need your parent there all the time. And you need to feel like your parent wants you. And though you never said, I don't want you, moving away and then calling once a week felt like, I don't want you. So you had to face that rejection and it was causing patterns in my life of picking people who rejected me, because it was almost like it happened before it even started. You'd get rejected because you were seeking out relationships where that was bound to happen. And I had to go back and look at all of that and realize that fear of rejection is a real thing. But I was putting myself in places and in situations where rejection was going to be imminent. It was going to happen because I was setting myself up for that. It was getting over the fear and realizing that if I don't place attachment to any kind of outcome, if I just go into it thinking I want the best to happen and we'll just see what happens, that got the best outcomes. Because it wasn't really letting the fear come in. Fear would take over and start causing me to self-destruct, right? Causing me to act in ways that would push someone away. And I finally had to get out of that. I had to decide that I was going to go for whatever it was I wanted. And I wasn't going to place any kind of attachment on it. I would just see what happens. That made things a lot easier. And there was some inner peace in doing that, because if I take a risk and it fails, I haven't lost anything. I've just learned something. I've gained knowledge. When you put that on the outcome that, okay, either something wonderful is going to happen, I'm going to gain a lot of things, or it might not turn out the way I wanted to, but I'm going to learn something from it. And that's going to help me in the future, because it's going to help me make better decisions in the future. Risk helps you to build your confidence, because when you try new things and it works out, you're like, look what I did. I'm amazing. It really does help you to build that confidence. It helps you to understand what you want. Okay, I did that. And that was not what I wanted. So now I don't need to do that again, because I understand that that was not the best thing for me. Or I did that. I loved it. I want to do that again. Now I know that I love it, and I know I want to do that more often. Helps you to build your sense of self-trust. Because when you are more aware of what you want and what you don't want, you start to be able to balance your logic and your intuition, and it helps you to make better decisions. And that in turn helps you to trust yourself, because when you know you make good decisions for yourself, then that trust builds. It's like self-confidence builds the self-trust and vice versa. It also makes life so exciting. It becomes so monotonous and boring when you do the same thing over and over and over again. And they say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you never made decisions in life, never took risks, life would be boring. And the only way you fail is by never trying. Failing is just never doing anything or trying. Failing it's just a first attempt in learning, and the only way you can learn is if you try. So you have to take a risk. Yeah, it might cause you to feel a little anxious. That's normal. When you start to feel anxiety, just think to yourself, Why am I doing this? What's the gain if I do this? Or what's the loss if I don't? If I don't take a risk, if I don't take a chance, you could lose out on a lot. You would regret the fact that you missed out on an opportunity for something amazing in your life. And you don't want to get to the end of your life and have regrets. Nobody wants that. So the only way to live life to the fullest is to take risks. But there are ways that you can decide if this is a good risk or a bad risk. And that involves getting very quiet and listening to your inner guidance. You have an intuition. Everyone has intuition. We've just forgotten how to use it. Part of that means slowing down, reconnecting, getting to know our inner selves and trusting ourselves. The moment that you start listening to how your body feels, to the guidance that you're receiving, for me, it's always a feeling. If there's a tightness and heaviness in my chest, for me, I know it's a no. If it's butterflies in my stomach, I know it's a yes. And there's that simple exercise you can do. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and tell yourself, yes, 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 yes. Where do you feel that in your body? And then do the same thing. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then tell yourself, no, no, no. Where do you feel that in your body? Get to know your body and how it reacts to the yeses and the nos. And then listen, because your body's trying to tell you things. Your body will give you guidance before you even ask. And you know that to be true because there will be people you meet in your life and immediately you're like, I don't like this person and I don't know why. And then there are people you meet in your life and you're like, I really like this person and I don't know why. Because our body reacts to energy. There's good energy and there's bad energy. And that can be attached to people or situations, and your body knows how to tell you. So take risks. Nothing exciting ever happens from your comfort zone. All right, guys, I wanted to pull a few cards for you today, and so I was going to pull 1 and 4 came out. So I'm going to take all 4, and they came from the Soul Truth Self-Awareness deck by Brianne Hovey. And the first one is where does my soul want to travel? And I love this because you know how I feel about traveling. I love traveling. It's why I even became a travel agent. I have my own part-time agency. I did it because I want to travel personally myself. And I love helping people. And I'm like, what better way to help others than to help them travel? When we travel, we grow. We open up our little worlds to more adventure, thrills, patience, understanding, trust, and oneness. Our hearts and minds expand and our desires are satisfied. Where is your soul calling you to visit? I love this because that is why I love travel and why I encourage my students to travel. You learn so much not only about yourself, but about other cultures as well. And it really does teach you more about yourself. And you learn what you love and what you don't love. Your soul action for today is to pick a location on your desired list, choose a date when you will get there, and start planning. Create a Pinterest board or start searching on travel sites for the best restaurants. Anything that will create movement to let the universe know you are ready to make it happen. Believe you can. And if you want to go somewhere and you need help figuring out where, just message me. It doesn't cost you anything to use me as a travel agent. I can look up places for you and put quotes together for you or help you decide. I would love to because I love traveling so much. It is in my soul to travel. I absolutely adore it. All right, your second card is, am I focused on what I'm losing or gaining? And you know, when you're taking a risk, sometimes you might lose something, but maybe it was meant to be lost. Are you going through some change? Are you scared to let go because of what you might lose? What if you shifted your focus from what you might lose to what you might gain? Endings are actually new beginnings. Today's soul action is today make a list of all the things you will gain from the change you are going through. Feel your heart, take a breath, and deepen into trust. Amazing things are coming. And your third card, on whom am I placing blame right now? A person who blames others has not begun their lesson. A person who blames themselves has begun their lesson. A person who blames no one has finished their lesson. I love that. Today's soul action is take responsibility. On whom are you placing blame right now? Today, free yourself by releasing all victimhood, blame, and resistance. They don't belong where you are going. Only love and courage live there. Make a choice to do it even if you don't feel ready. Listen to your heart. You will be led. And your last card for today is, what risk can I take today? Oh my gosh, I love that. Wow. Okay, universe, this is your sign. What risk can I take today? The universe is saying, be not mistaken. You will have to take bigger risks than you have ever thought possible on this path towards your dreams. You will have to take the big, scary leap. But do not fret, because your soul has wings. Today's soul action is, what risk can you take to move towards your dreams? Make a decision and do it. No more thinking, only doing. Be brave and courageous, and you will discover what you are really made of. I love that. How perfect and fitting for today's message. I hope that you are taking risks on yourself and in your life. And honestly, the song that comes to my mind is one that my mom always used to dedicate to me. She dedicated it to me at my wedding, and it was, I Hope You Dance. I hope you never sit out when you have the opportunity to dance in life and to take the risk that you were meant to take. I hope you dance to your dreams and that you feel so much fulfillment in your heart from it. Feel the joy of taking risks and succeeding. I wish for so much for all of you, and more than anything, I hope you dance. And I hope you have a beautiful day today from wherever you're listening. As always, I'm sending you guys so much love and light. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will talk to you soon.